Language faculty. So, how do children learn their language, and what is this their ability? So, learnability leads us to consider the related goal of developing a theory of language learnability or language acquisition. An acquisition theory is concerned with the question of how do children acquire grammars of their native languages. So, what it is that make them learn their native language. So, when we say grammar of their, it means the language, grammar of their language with which they learn language. So, children generally produce their first recognizable word, mama, dada, or in their own language by around the age of 12 months or little earlier. It varies from children to children. For the next 6 months or so, there is a little apparent evidence of grammatical development. What they use is a single word. So this is a single word stage of children. We have time and again referred to the learning phases of children or stages of children. Let's talk a little more. So I said that by 12 months they use a single word, right? Mama, papa, dada, etc. And for the next 6 months, little apparent evidence of grammatical development or in their speech. And this is a single word stage, right? So their productive vocabulary is 5 words a month. Still, it is 30 words a month when they reach at the age of 18 months. No evidence of acquisition of grammar, whether they don't show us that they are learning. However, they must be learning grammar of their language. No use of inflections, no use of plural inflections or past tense inflections, and they can't productively combine words into a syntax, right? So around the age of 18 months, start to make productive use of inflection. Doggies become inflected verb, going, gone, and alongside the uninflected verb form go. 3-word utterances: want daddy, eating cookie, daddy gone office. So by the age of around 30 months, able to produce adult-like sentences such as where's mama gone, what's daddy doing, etc., etc., right? So how does it happen? How do they start using this language? What is this spurt, right? So this is very surprising for the linguists. So the central phenomenon which any theory of language acquisition must answer, that how it is that after a drawn out period of 18 months or so, the child starts speaking. There is a spurt that makes him use multi-word speech. So this is very surprising for the linguist. A phenomenal growth in grammatical development then takes place over the next 12 months, and they start using language as they should use as native speaker of any language. So here comes Chomsky, and he talks about uniformity. Uniformity means that the same system starts among the children at almost the same age and with the same rapidity. All of a sudden, with a spurt, it is started as if somebody has opened up gates, right? So Chomsky, according to Chomsky, this linguistic development of first language acquisition is determined by a biologically endowed innate faculty of language. So it is endowed faculty of language is given to the children by nature, right? Or language acquisition program in their brain. So this program provides children with a genetically transmitted algorithm, a system of procedures for developing a grammar on the basis of their linguistic experience. So they have something that is genetically transmitted to them that tells them or gives them different procedures to use their language in different ways. Listening to people, what they do, listening to people around constitute the child's linguistic experience of the language. So what they listen, they form an experience of their listening, and this is how they start using language. So their experience of language faculty bases on their listening. So listening is very important for children. We have talked about it time and again. So Chomsky notes language acquisition is an ability which all humans possess entirely independent of their general intelligence. So if we gauge children at the IQ scale, we find them at different levels. But despite this fact, all children starts learning their language at the same age without any external help. Only they have their experiences. The apparent uniformity in types of grammar developed by different speakers of the same language suggests that children have genetic guidance in the task of constructing a grammar of their own language. So this whole is genetically transmitted. The child's linguistic experience is often degenerated. The performance is faulty. We have talked about performance, competence, and performance. Performance of a speech, even by the native speaker, is faulty. So their experience is degenerated. Halfway said sentences with so many movements, so many mispronunciations, slips of tongues, and so and so. But what they form of their own language is perfect. Their competence there is perfect from those that degenerated performance. Right, since it is based on the linguistic performance of adult speaker, and this may be a poor reflection of their competence. So a further argument Chomsky uses in support of innate hypothesis relates to the fact that language acquisition is entirely subconscious and involuntary activity. Similarly, as we use our senses, we open our eyes and we cannot help seeing it. It's an involuntary action, not a voluntary action. So similar is the language learning faculty, that children have to learn a language which they listen to. They cannot unlearn their listening. A critical period for acquisition of syntax before puberty helps children generally achieve native competence in it. However, there is one restriction, and that is this critical period. There is certain critical period by which they must learn their language, otherwise they'll have problem. They can improve vocabulary, they can improve their pronunciation, they can improve different tasks, but so far as the syntax is concerned, that has a critical period, and if the syntax is not learned by that period, then it is difficult to learn. After the age of 9 or 10 years, rarely manage to achieve native-like syntactic competence. Accordingly, development of language in the individual must involve three factors, as we have talked about. One, genetic endowment, which sets limits on attainable languages, thereby making language acquisition possible. That language is genetically transmitted, endowed, so it have to be learned by the children, because he makes experiments. Second, external data converted to the experience that select one or another language within a narrow range. So whatever a child listens in the community, a child may be Chinese but brought up in England will learn to English language because the child is listening to word, phrases, sentences of English language. So this is his or her basic experience. So this is external data that may help him or her form experience. So the third thing is principle not specific to language faculty, right? So obviously other rules of languages have to be learned. There are some specific rules that are universal, that takes place in the brain of children at the same age, almost at the same time, right? But however, there are certain parameters we will discuss that have to be learned, that vary from language to language. So the third factor principles referred to under 3 enter into all facets of growth and evolution and include principles of efficient computation, that how children compute their mental lexicon. We talked a lot about mental lexicon. So this is how language is learned. So this is the theory of language faculty, or the faculty of language.